About 21 months have passed since the world began to shut down because of this virus that emerged from Wuhan, China. And as the world shut down, economies were disrupted really, really badly. But you all know that, unless you've been living in a coma. And if so, I'm sure some people would be really jealous. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about the economic recovery that has been taking place since the global capitalism machine had been turned off. Which countries have actually recovered, and who still has a long way to go. Hi everyone, if you're new here and enjoy global economics, then be a nice person and like this video and subscribe to this channel. It helps let me know that I'm not alone in this world. Anyway, on with the video. So, if you came here for a list of countries, I've got bad news for you. I don't have one. But what I can do is guide you through some data that will at least get you a little closer to some kind of list. Okay, so in order to understand which economies have recovered from the COVID shock, we need to determine a series of variables that will help us understand how well an economy is performing. There is effectively an infinite list of variables we could choose from, but for the purposes of this video, at least I've selected the following two. 1. Number of employed persons, and 2. GDP in constant prices. Now, of course, that's not a lot of data, and you'd be right. However, the only data we can interpret has to be published on at least a quarterly basis. Otherwise, quite simply, not enough time has passed since the beginning of the COVID shock. And I'd like to point out this is not a deep level analysis of the recovery since it's just a short YouTube video. So, with that said, let's dive in and start with our first metric. So, this metric should be pretty easy to understand. We want to see the difference between how many people were employed pre-crisis and how many are employed now. As an example, I'm going to start with the USA, since most of you, according to my YouTube analytics, are from the land of stars and stripes. In this graph, you can see that just before the crisis, almost 159 million people were employed in the USA. That's a lot of people. However, as of November this year, that figure is closer to 155 million, meaning almost 4 million fewer people are working. That's like the whole population of Connecticut. Anyway, to give us a number that we can use to compare, we will apply some math. So, divide the latest employment figure by the pre-crisis figure and times it by 100 to be able to say that 97.8% of the pre-crisis figure is employed in the USA today. Make sense? Awesome. So now let's add some more countries to get a view of who's been performing best. So what you can see is that the US figure is actually not that great. There are other countries like the UK, Italy and Germany that are performing slightly better, even though they haven't released data for November yet. But at the top, you might be surprised. Of the random list of countries that I've put together, which provide accurate enough data to do this comparison, Spain actually tops the list. And 5 countries in total have seen figures that surpass 100%, meaning they have as many or more people employed today than they did pre-crisis. Like Canada, Mexico, and even France, who at the time of writing had only released data up to Q2 this year. Reasons for the differences are plentiful. In part, these figures are related to how economies have bounced back, but also they are representative of how labour markets work in different countries, and the policies governments took to ensure mass firing didn't take place, like in the Netherlands, which is in stark contrast to what happened in the USA or Canada. Just consider the difference between the pre-crisis employment figure and the figure which represents the bottoming out of employment. In the US and Canada, employment fell to 84% of the pre-crisis employment figure, while in the Netherlands, who also releases monthly data, only saw a drop to 97.8%. But anyway, let's move past employment figures and on to GDP, who's seen their economy recover. Okay, so for those who aren't aware, the GDP in constant prices data eliminates fluctuations in a nation's GDP figure as a result of the strengthening or weakening of a nation's currency. So, while it's not of great use when looking to understand which economy is the largest in a given demographic area, it is useful when we're trying to understand if an economy has actually grown. So, much like the last graph, I've crunched the numbers and displayed the difference in terms of the percentage relative to pre-crisis figures. So, here's the data. As you can see, 7 countries this time have already recovered to or surpassed pre-crisis levels, this time including the USA. And the nation to top the list is Taiwan, which has dealt with the pandemic significantly better than any other country on our list. And since it technically entered a recession during the pandemic, it gets to keep that place on our list. What you might also notice is that Spain, the top performing country in terms of getting people back into jobs, is at the bottom of our GDP list. And that may cause a few people to wave a red flag and claim that more people are simply in jobs that are not productive for the economy, which may be an argument worth proposing. However, I'd probably point to the fact that Spanish employment, despite being an advanced economy, is still quite seasonal, and Q2 and Q3 employment data historically tend to be quite strong as a result of the large and labour-intensive tourism sector. Another country worth pointing out is the UK, which, despite its advanced economy status and government intervention to keep people in employment, has seen its economy lag behind almost all European economies of similar development, especially against other Northern European countries. Perhaps this is also the impact of Brexit adding to a poorer performance, but that topic will be for a future video. So, after having a look at 2 metrics, only the Netherlands and France have seen full recoveries in both employment and GDP data. So, that means that they're the only 2 countries that are capable of claiming a full economic recovery from COVID, right? Yeah, of course not. As much as the data I've shown you is valid, it's definitely not a complete list of data that would give us enough certainty to say that an economy has made a full recovery. But that said, these 2 indicators are perhaps the ones that carry the most weight, so make of them as you like. Hi everyone, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and check out the channel support box below. Also, let me know what you think. Which economies would you say have recovered from the COVID shock? And is your nation one of them? Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.